Namaste. Good morning. Happy Tuesday. So we're just going to need, if you have yoga blocks and a strap and a comfortable seat, grab it. If not, you can absolutely create it. You can use a towel as a strap. You can use pillows or books for blocks. I'll give modifications for everything, so you don't need anything. We will sit a little bit more towards the end of the practice. So if you have a meditation cushion, or you can sit on blocks, or you can sit on folded blankets or towels. Some of us are comfortable seated on our bottom on the floor, and that works as well. But welcome. Good morning. Let's start in child's pose. So we're going to come to our mat and come all the way down into child's pose. Start with your arms in a comfortable position. So that's going to be personal. Sometimes arms by the side is nice. Sometimes hands our forearms stacked underneath the forehead is nice. But make sure your body's extremely comfortable. If you feel cramped, widen your knees. And again, come into your child's pose. And if child's pose is not extremely comfortable, you guys just lie on your back. Put your feet flat on the mat, knees bent, right? So find a very comfortable position, like you'd want to be here forever. And then close your eyes. And just bring your attention to your breath. And see if you can shift your breath in and out your nose. Do the best you can to just breathe in and out your nose. And then notice the length of your breath. So I do suggest counting for a few cycles of breath. Count the length of your inhale from beginning to end. Count the length of your exhale from beginning to end with numbers. Notice the length of your breath. Right now, today, in this moment, about how long are your inhales and exhales? And now can we, from that point of noticing what is, can we work to just lengthen the breath, your breath, today, by a few seconds, right? Add a few seconds onto your inhale, add a few seconds onto your exhale. So you're consciously lengthening in your breath. And then notice every moment your mind goes somewhere else, because that's what it does. The mind tends to wander away from the presence to the past or the future, often. And the practice of yoga, you guys, is to bring it back. So we notice it's gone. We don't judge. We don't label. We don't get frustrated. We just simply, oh, look, I'm somewhere else. And we bring it back to the next breath, right? The breath is always here. The breath is a tool to keep us present. And then can you guys deepen your breath? Can you breathe in deeper than you have yet today? Can you feel your belly, your chest, your side body, your back body? Your whole torso blows up with each inhale, so full, so complete, like you're a balloon and you're almost gonna pop your torso. And allow your exhales to be complete. Meaning probably exhale for a few seconds longer than you think you can. When you think you're done exhaling, continue to exhale for a second or two or three if possible. Again, those of you joining, we're in child's pose, just playing with our Ujjayi breath, creating this long, deep, smooth, rhythmic breath in and out the nose. So the breath keeps us present, and the breath also works as a barometer to let us know how far to move into the asanas, the postures, and when maybe to back off, to modify, to even rest completely, right? So yoga is a practice of self-care. To take care of ourselves, we have to pay attention. So the breath brings us here and keeps us present over and over again. And from that place of complete presence with this moment as it is, we make choices on how to best serve ourselves in the moment. So let's move into extended child's pose. You're going to reach your arms out overhead, spread your fingers, really spread your fingers, ground your hands and activate your arms. So the head's still on the mat if possible. Nice straight arms, push into the hands, feel a sense of a rebounding of the hips back in towards the heels. And notice the quality of your breath here. And then keeping those nice straight arms, let's shift onto our hands and our knees. And we're going to go into some cat-cow. So on an inhale, lift your chest and tailbone. And exhale, round your spine. We link our breath and movement together. So we breathe in to move. You're going to be at your rhythm, your pace, moving with the rhythm of your breath. And breathing out, we move. Back and forth a handful of times. Long, lengthened, deep, smooth, rhythmic breaths. Linking the breath and the movement together. 2 or 3 more. Ground the top of the ankles, the feet and the shins, the feet. And then on your next inhale, pull your chest forward, really actively slide the shoulder blades down the back. We're going to tuck the toes, lift the hips, and make our way into our first downward dog. So downward dog is ideally a triangle, right? You're trying to lift the sit bones up, and a lot of us, you guys, are going to need to widen the knee or widen the feet and bend the knees in order to feel like we can lift the sit bones. If you're able to straighten the legs, you will. Feel the inner and outer edge of the heels going down. Doesn't mean they're ever going to get there. They're just going in that direction. Lengthen and deepen your breath here. And if anything's too much, you guys, you'll feel it in your breath. You'll feel that you're compromising the quality of breath, and you just simply modify any of the modifications I give as options and or rest. Right? So work as hard as you can in the body, strengthening and stretching without straining. 5 breaths in downward dog. Feel the energy in the hands, you guys, and try to ground the whole hand. So you want to feel the weight bearing on the first finger and thumb as much as you feel the weight bearing on the outer edge of the hand. So sometimes it feels like we're squeezing the hands in towards each other. And when we squeeze the hands in towards each other, sometimes the shoulders roll forward and creep forward. So I want you to bring your awareness to your upper arm bones and feel the upper arm bones spin away from the midline, widening the collarbone and opening the chest. Let's take one more full breath in downward dog. And then on your next inhale, we're going to shift forward to plank. So you're going to take your shoulders over your wrists. And if this is too much, you guys, simply put your knees on the mat and do a modified plank, yes? And just hold for a few breaths. Feeling that active feeling of sliding the shoulders down the back and widening the collarbone. Still lifting the front body, the middle to support the back body. Soften your face, your shoulders, your jaw. Challenge yourself without overwhelming yourself, and you'll feel it in the breath, you guys. So the breath stays calm as hard as we work in the body. Modify whenever you need to, change whatever you need to. It is your yoga practice. And on your next exhale, let's make our way back to downward facing dog. So we're going to again move with breath, and if this is too much, you guys, drop your knees and do cat-cow like we did previously. Inhale, come forward to plank, the chest pulls through. And exhale, pike back to downward facing dog. Again, make it a breathing exercise. Breathing in, the chest pulls forward. And breathing out, the hips lift up and back. Again, if you need to drop your knees and do cat-cow, feel free. Just move and breathe. A few more. Building some heat in the body.
Work as hard as you can without overwhelming yourself or causing tension and stress. 2 more. And the next time we make our way to downward dog, we're going to pause there for a handful of breaths. And again, if you need to bend your knees today, you guys, to lengthen the spine, bend your knees. Feel the sit bones lift, the chest melt back, and allow the head and neck to release. And come back to that quality of breath. Long, deep, smooth, rhythmic breaths in and out your nose. Feel as if you're squeezing the hands together on the mat, grounding the first finger and thumb. Feel your upper arm bones roll like it acts as a wheel. Roll away from the midline. So your triceps roll back, your collarbone broadens, your upper back broadens, and you feel more space in the shoulders and the neck. Final full breath here. And let's just gently walk the hands back to the feet into a forward fold. So just let the upper body hang, clasp the forearms for now. If you can straighten your legs comfortably, meaning with a calm, deep breath, you will. If you need to bend your knees and widen your feet, you will. Allow the upper back, the middle back to release, the head and neck to let go. And come back to the rhythm of your breath. You're more than welcome to stay right here. If you want to add a little bit of a shoulder stretch, you can interlace the hands behind you and try to lift the knuckles and the shoulders up. If this doesn't work for you, if it feels like compression, not stretch, you would grab a prop, right? You can grab your strap, make more space. You can grab a towel, make more space. 5 more breaths in the forward fold. Over and over again, noticing when the mind wanders. And just gently bringing it back to the next inhale or exhale, whatever's here in the sensation, in the pose, in the shape, in the moment. Notice if you're gripping or tightening. See if you can release the face, the jaw. Allow that crown of the head to drop with gravity. One more full breath. And release the arms. We're going to walk ourselves back out to a downward facing dog. Again, if you need to widen the feet or bend the knees, feel free. Again, if you need to rest at any point in time, feel free. Don't even worry if you've done one side. Don't worry if you're missing anything. Do what you need to do in each moment to make the practice healthy for you. One more full breath in downward dog. And then again, we're going to come forward to plank. And we're going to be here for probably longer than you'd like. So again, feel free to modify. Modified plank, the knees are down. I still have a straight line in my body. So there's still a straight line from my shoulders through my hips, through my knees. Too often we overdrop the middle or we keep the tushy lifted. Right, I'm tucking my tail under and lengthening, lifting my waist, my belly, and lengthening my tailbone towards my feet or my backside. No matter if my knees are down or my knees are up, yes? So we are going to build heat. And at some point, it's going to get uncomfortable. And at some point, our mind will probably tell us we can't do it anymore. And at that point, can you take a few more breaths? Right? If you're hurting your joints, if it's absolutely not right for you, you drop your knees and modify. Right? But part of the yoga practice is embracing discomfort, embracing an element of challenge that the mind thinks is not possible. Right? And when we do that, we realize that the impossible is possible. 1 or 2 more breaths here. You guys can modify if you need to, if you're feeling in the joints or it's not right for your body. If it's just muscle building and a little bit of mind resistance, stay with it. 1 more full breath. Again, lower your knees if you need to. We're going to come to chaturanga. So you guys, chaturanga, the elbows are over the wrists. My belly's still lifted. My chest is still wide. I'd like 3 breaths here. Again, please put your knees down if you need to. Feel the heat. Feel the challenge. Notice what the mind has to say and just come back to the breath. Modify if you need to. And then all the way onto your belly. Rest the top of the feet. The hands will come all the way back underneath the elbows, and we're going to move into cobra. So on an inhale, lift your head and chest. And exhale, roll back down. So you guys, we're creating space in the postures, in the asanas. Inhale, pull forward and up. So only move into the shape as much as you feel like you can with a deep full breath and space in the spine. Traction your hands back towards your waist. Pull your heart forward and lower down. So once again, you guys, we're moving and breathing kind of like we've done thus far. Breathing in, open the chest. And breathing out, roll down. About 5 more. Again, link your breath and movement together and make it feel good. And good doesn't always mean easy, right? We're here to challenge ourselves. We get on our yoga mat to grow, to evolve, to become better people in our body, in our mind. 1 more. Pull, lift a cobra and pause. So you can be in a higher shape if that feels right for your spine, yeah? Hold your cobra. Pull forward more than just shoving up, right? So you feel that you're creating space in the spine. And I'd like you today in cobra to keep you guys the top of the feet rounded. And that just engages the lower belly a little more. So lift your lower belly and lengthen your tailbone. And that's going to help the top of the feet press down. And then if and when you're ready, we'll take the arms out to the side like airplane wings. And if and when you're ready, you can always stay here. If and when you're ready, we can interlace the hands behind us and or grab our prop and find a shoulder stretch. Notice your breath. Notice the quality of the breath. Keep the breath long, deep, smooth, and actually calming. So as vigorously and hard as we're working in the body, you guys, the breath is an anchor to presence and an anchor to self-care. Again, keep lifting your lower belly, lengthening your tailbone. Feel your knuckles go back, your chest go forward. So again, we're creating space to opposite points of the body, moving away from each other. If you need to come out earlier, modify, please do. And notice where the mind goes. Maybe you're pushing too hard. Maybe you need to back off a little bit so you can soften the breath. 1 more full breath. And release. Planting the hands. So from here, you can either push through a child's pose, or if you want to make it more challenging, tuck your toes, lift your middle, and from here, like a straight board, you press up to plank. And then we're all going to make our way back to a downward facing dog. And come back to the breath. Long, deep, smooth, and rhythmic breaths. In and out the nose. And again, let that be the most important part of your practice today. The quality of breath. So the practice becomes not just fitness, but it becomes healing when we pay attention and honor what's happening in the moment for us. Bend your knees. Look forward. Step or jump your feet forward. And you can take your feet hip width or all the way together. It's a preference. Inhale, flat back, lengthen your spine. And exhale, fold. Again, inhale, flat back, lengthen your spine. And exhale, fold. So you guys, hands go wherever you feel like you can get the spine straight. So a lot of us will have our hands on our shins. A lot of us can use props if we have them in order to lengthen the spine. And if you guys don't have props, again, we're breathing and moving. Feel free to bend your knees as much as you need to get that spine long. 2 more. Breathing in, it's the chest forward, not the chin up. And breathing out. And final one, breathing in. And breathing out. And then big breath in, we're going to reach up and stand up. Inhale, reach overhead, take up space. And exhale, hands to prayer. Inhale, reach out, move with your breath. Exhale, fold in half. Inhale, flat back, lengthen your spine. And exhale, step to a plank. Remember, your knees can be down in plank. Take a deep, full breath in. On an exhale, bend your elbows halfway down to chaturanga or lie all the way on your belly like we did previously. So if you want to make the back bend more challenging, you come to the top of the feet and inhale to upward dog. Otherwise, you're going to stick with cobra on your belly. And exhale, downward facing dog. 3 deep breaths. Feel the upper arms spin away from the middle. Allow the head and neck to release. 2 more full breaths. And at the end of your next exhale, bend your knees, look forward, step, or if it's fun and fun, challenging, however you perceive it, hop up. Inhale, flat back, lengthen your spine. And exhale, fold. We're going to stand all the way up. Inhale, reach overhead. Exhale, hands to prayer. Again, breathe in, move. They're big movements. You guys take it as slow as you need to. Inhale, reach up, take up space. And exhale, fold in half. Inhale, flat back, lengthen your spine. Exhale, step to plank, modify if you need to, skip it and go straight to dog. On an exhale, you're going to bend the elbows lower halfway down, chest is still open, belly is still lifted. Inhale to cobra or upward dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. 3 deep, full breaths. Notice your breath. Notice when the mind wanders. And just notice where it goes, right? Without judging, without labeling, notice the thoughts that come up. And come back to the breath. One more full breath in, downward dog. Bend your knees a lot, finish the exhale. And either step or jump yourself up. Inhale, flat back, lengthen your spine, chest to chin, neck stays long. And exhale, folds. Inhale, stand all the way up, reach overhead. And exhale, hands to prayer. One more like that, you guys. Inhale, reach up, take up space. Exhale, fold in half, bend the knees if you need to. Inhale, flat back, lengthen your spine. Exhale, step or jump if that makes sense in your practice. So you guys, if you're jumping, you will land in chaturanga. That means you have a very strong chaturanga. It's a hard pose. Inhale the back bend of your choice. And exhale, downward facing dog. 3 deep breaths. Steady the breath. If it's not possible, drop to your knees. Rest in child's pose for a moment. And one more full breath here. And then again, gently walk your hands back to your feet. Back into that forward fold. Clasp your forearms and just notice which forearm you put on top. And let's flip it. So the other forearm goes on top. The head and neck releases. If that's not possible, bend the knees more. And notice the quality of your breath. Find a sense of release and letting go. Right, so in these postures, you guys, we're always in our own practice looking for this place between too much and not enough. Right, if it's too much, you're going to compromise your breath. You're going to feel like you're straining. If it's not enough, it's probably really easily to mentally check out. So maybe you need to push yourself a little more. Right, we want to push ourselves. We want to challenge ourselves. We want to grow physically and mentally. But we don't want to push so hard that we're overwhelming and creating tension, right? Ambition, the American way, is almost over-pushing, overdoing, right? It's never enough. Can you find that place in between in each shape? One more full breath here. Let the arms drop. And gently roll yourself up to standing. 1 vertebrae at a time, stacking your joints. Pause for a moment in Tadasana. Take a deep, full breath in. And exhale completely. And let's step the feet wide, arms wide, so turn sideways on your mat. See if you can get your ankles underneath your wrists. And notice the quality of your breath here. Spread your fingers, reach away from the midline. It's usually a little wider with the feet than we tend to place them. And then we're going to start with warrior 2 on the right side. So from the hip socket, let's turn the thigh out, ideally turning the toes, knee, and hip all the way to about 90 degrees. And then the back foot's going to turn in slightly, about 30 degrees. And we're going to try to bend our front knee over our front ankle. So ideally my hips and my chest are facing the side as my knee rolls open, my back thigh pulls back. I'm going to reach through my arms, and if you want to gaze like traditional warrior 2, if you want to gaze out over the front hand, feel free. I'm going to look to you guys just because I feel like I'm talking to you and connecting with you. And notice your breath. So you guys, in warrior 2, the front knee tends to like to kind of roll in. So I want you to feel the front inner knee pushing open. It's called external rotation of the hip to the outer knee, and the front outer hip squeezing in. And when we open and roll that front hip, that right leg, into external rotation, what happens is the pelvis tends to follow. So can you bring your awareness to your back thigh and waist, left thigh and waist, and pull back? So again, pulling 2 body parts in the opposite direction. Front knee opened, back thigh and hip back. 5 more breaths. So notice what's happening for you now. Notice your breath. This is a long hold for most of us. If you're compromising the breath, you simply do this. Oh, yay. So you can breathe deeply, and then you come back down and join us. Yes, I can't even see you. No one can see you. You're the only one judging you, and I suggest you let that go. Lift your belly, lengthen your tailbone down. 2 more breaths. Soften the shoulders, even though there's energy in the arms. And find that place in this shape right now, somewhere between not enough and too much. And then on an inhale, straighten your front leg. And exhale to bend your knee. So again, we breathe and move. Breathing in. And breathing out. So you're going to move with the rhythm of your breath, and you're only going to go as far in that front leg as you feel is enough for you today. 2 more. So find a sense of easefulness and calmness with the quality of your breath, even though you're working hard in the body. And then pause. Warrior 2. Again, keep feeling that front inner knee roll to the outer knee, external rotation of the front hip. Keep feeling that front outer hip squeeze into the middle. And as we feel the rotation in the front thigh, pull the root of the left thigh and waist back. Feeling some sort of openness and stretch across the groin and hips. Soften something. Take a break if you need it. We're going to hold for 10 breaths. I don't know if you wanted to know that or not. Right, but you're in charge. Push yourself, challenge yourself without losing the quality of the breath, right? If you need a break, you straighten the leg. Notice the stories that come up in the mind. Notice the judgments, notice the resistance, and see if you can come back to the breath and the sensation. If it's hurting your joints, if it's truly not intuitively right for your body, you take a break. 5 breaths. Keep moving the front inner knee to the outer knee. Keep moving the front outer hip into the midline and pulling the root of that left thigh and waist back. 3 breaths, you guys. Soften something. So when we speak of gratitude, it's very easy to be grateful for those things that make us happy and joyous.
And much more challenging to be grateful for the things that we perceive as challenging or difficult. So in our practice, in our body, on our mat, in this pose, can you take this opportunity to be grateful for the challenge? Whether you stay the 10 breaths or not. Inhale, straighten your leg. Turn the toes forward. The arms will stay up if you can. If you need a break, you take it. Notice if you're judging yourself and let it go. Second leg turns out. So from the hip socket, turn that left thigh out. Back heel will swivel back slightly and we'll make our way into warrior two on the left side. So again, you can gaze over the front hand, very traditional, or you can turn towards the camera. Feel the rotation in the front hip. The inner knee to move to the outer knee. The outer hip squeeze into the middle. Right? If I just rotate my front thigh, what happens is my body starts to turn forward. And in warrior two, we're trying to keep the hips and the chest facing the side. So as you rotate the front knee open, can you pull back with the right waist, the root of the right thigh? And you want to do those two actions somewhat equally in your body today. So it feels like a sense of stretch and space. And that doesn't mean it's comfortable. That just means intuitively it feels like you're creating space and not compression. Reach through two arms, soften your shoulders. A few more breaths here. Again, if you are in charge, right? So you might not be in a full knee bend. That's okay. Do what you can today without straining. And then on an inhale, straighten your front leg. And on an exhale, bend your knee. Breathing in. And breathing out. Few more. Link your breath and movement together. You choose the range of motion. You choose when you rest. And final one. Come into your warrior two and pause. A lot of us tend to reach just forward. Can you actually reach through the back hand as much as you're reaching through the front hand? So it feels like my shoulders are stacked gently over my hips. Can you lift your belly, lengthen the tailbone to the floor so there's space in that lower back? And from here, you guys, we have 10 breaths. And notice what the mind does with that thought. I gave you the amount of breaths. Normally, I really wouldn't even tell you. But notice what comes up in the mind. If you need to rest your arms, rest them. If you need to straighten your legs, straighten it. Notice if you're judging because you're not capable of doing the 10 breath hold. Let that go. Do what you can. And see if you can find a sense of gratitude for the challenge. Right? We seek teachers to challenge us. Right? Because we wouldn't do it on our own. So push up against the edge. Maybe stay a few breaths longer than you think you can without compromising your breath, without straining or hurting yourself, right? Do enough, but not too much. Soften something. Maybe smile. One more full breath. And inhale, straighten your leg. Turn your toes forward. Take a deep breath in, reach those arms overhead. And exhale, wide leg forward, full. Drop the head and chest. Give into gravity. And notice the breath. So the breath is always there. It's just a matter of us constantly bringing our attention, our awareness, our focus back to the breath, because meditation is about one-pointedness, paying attention to one thing with unwavering attention. And then when you're ready, let's flatten the back the best we can. So a lot of you guys, you're going to probably want props, right? You might be able to put something on your hands to get a flat back. If you don't have props, you can bend your knees to get a flat back. So less neck. Most of us tend to lift the neck too much. Look down, pull the chest forward like cobra. And on an inhale, let's lift one hand up and rotate. And exhale, the hand comes down. Make it a breathing exercise. Breathing in, open. And breathing out, come down.
Again, inhale to open. And exhale down. Few more. If you need to bend the knees, you will. Link your breath and movement together, creating space. Reach that top arm up. Spread the fingers, widen the collarbone. And then final one. Right back down into that wide leg forward fold. Release the head and the neck. Give into gravity. And then when you're ready, let's turn that right foot out and make our way back into a downward facing dog. Take a few deep, full breaths here. Feel the inner hand press, the upper arm bone spin away from the middle. And take a few deep breaths in downward dog. Just check in. Notice the quality of your breath. Notice how you're doing now. And honor that. So often, you guys, we have an agenda about the way things are supposed to be. Even in our yoga practice, even in our postures. I'm going to do this today because I did this yesterday. I'm going to do this today. Let it go. Let it go. Show up for yourself each day and check in. And truly become aware of how you're feeling now. And honor that. Work with that. If you need a child's pose, you guys take it. Otherwise, one more breath in, downward dog. And then inhale, lift the right leg up. And exhale, step your foot all the way up between your hands like a runner's lunge. If you need blocks or be on your fingertips, feel free. We're going to spin the back heel down for warrior one. So the foot's at about a 30 degree angle. Outer edge of the foot is grounded, and I'm trying to level and square my hips. So I'm trying to squeeze that right hip in and back. Feel the outer edge of the back foot grounded, the inner thigh of the back leg rolling back. And then on an inhale, come on up, warrior one. So this time my chest and my hips are trying to face forward. I'm going to bring my hands to prayer, and we're going to move into another shoulder stretch. So you're either going to interlace your hands behind you like we did earlier, or you can grab your strap or towel. And on an exhale, we're going to fold forward over that front thigh. So you're going to go as deep as your body will allow for today, still maintaining that quality of breath. If you can allow the head and neck to release, do. If you want more of a stretch, feel free to drop the body on the inside of the leg. And we're going to be here for about 5 breaths. So the outer hip, that right hip, tends to like to stick out. Can you squeeze the right hip in and back? Again, trying to level the hips, trying to pull that left hip forward. Feel the release in the neck. Feel the work in the triceps, the lifting of the shoulders. A few more breaths. If you need to come out early, you will. One more full breath. Notice how you're feeling. Notice where it's challenging. See if you can stick with it. And even have some gratitude for the challenge, whether we get through it or not. And then lift your body parallel to the floor. Arms come out to the side like airplane wings. We're going to roll that back heel up. One more strong standing pose, you guys. We're going to come into warrior three. So we're going to do the best we can to balance on that front leg. If you have blocks, you're more than welcome to use them. You can use a couch, a table, a chair if you need to hold on to something. Right? We're just trying to stand on that front leg. If you need to bend the standing leg, you will. Try to keep the hips level today, kind of like warrior one. So you're lifting from the inner thigh of that back leg. How's the breath here? Right? If you fall, it's perfect. You have an opportunity to get back up with a good attitude and have gratitude for the challenge. A few more breaths. Modify if you need to. Bend the standing leg if you need to. One more full breath. And then hands come down onto props or the floor, standing splits, drop your head. So it doesn't matter how much you lift the leg, you lift it as much as you can today, maintaining that quality of breath. Keep squeezing that standing hip, right hip in and back so your hips are level. Allow the head and neck to release, the shoulders to lift. And soften something or modify or rest. One more full breath. And then feet come together. Forward fold, Tadasana. Inhale, flat back, lengthen your spine. And exhale, fold. One more time like that. Inhale, flat back, lengthen your spine. And exhale, fold. Bend your knees. So feet can be all the way together. If that's too tough on your lower back or too tough for balance, feel free to take them hip width apart. Drop your hips as low as your knees if possible. And then peel your body up for chair pose. So as my thighs drop, I'm trying to vigorously lift my pelvis away from my thighs. If you're feeling any tension in the shoulders or neck, widen your arms, spin the palms back. And you guys feel the heat, feel the challenge, soften the breath. Be grateful for the opportunity to evolve, to grow, to get physically stronger, physically more flexible, mentally more resilient. If it's too much, you'll feel it in the breath and you'll rest. And you'll come back and you'll try again. Right, so the practice in the asana is about our mental attitude. How do we approach these postures? 2 more full breaths, soften your shoulders. Lift your waist. Inhale, stand up, reach up. And exhale, hands to prayer. Inhale, chair pose. And exhale, straighten the legs, fold. Inhale, pull your chest forward. You guys exhale, jump to chaturanga, step to plank, your practice. Keep exhaling to bend the elbows and lower. Inhale, pull forward and up to a back bend of your choice. And exhale, downward facing dog. Check in, how's your breath? If you need a child's pose, now's a good time. You guys, so I consciously chose to make this asana practice a little heated, a little challenging. You know, we're all different, so our challenge is going to be different. Just so you could look at your attitude in the shapes, in the postures. What is your self-talk? Can you come back to the breath? Just do the best you can in each shape. Challenging yourself with not overwhelming. And knowing that that's enough. It's perfect. That's the practice of yoga. Inhale, lift your left leg up. Exhale, step your foot forward. Find that runner's lunge. Use props if you need them under the hands. And we're going to spin the back heel flat for warrior one. So it's at about a 30-45 degree angle, that back foot. I'm trying to level my hips. So I'm trying to pull my right hip forward, my left hip in and back. And on an inhale, come on up, warrior one. Exhale, hands to prayer. Feel the inner thigh of the back leg spinning back. Maintaining that grounding in the outer edge of the back foot. And if and when you're ready, let's add a shoulder stretch. Use a strap or towel if you need to. Inhale, the chest lifts. And exhale, fold forward. So you're just going to go down on this side as much as your body will allow for, maintaining that smooth, deep, rhythmic breath. Allow the head and neck to release, and if you're feeling more open on this side, feel free to drop your body on the inside of the front thigh. Keep squeezing the front hip in and back, trying to level your pelvis, maintaining neutral pelvis. One more full breath. And then bring your body about parallel to the floor. Take your arms out to the side like airplane wings. Roll the back heel up, and we're going to make our way into that balanced pose, warrior three. If you have something to hold on to, you guys feel free. It could be absolutely anything, a wall, a chair, blocks. So you're going to come on up. And if you don't need the props, or if you want to play without the props, play. Right, so you guys, often when we learn to do something, we don't usually get it the first time we try. But if we keep trying, it gets easier each time. If you need to bend the standing leg, you will. Roll the lifted inner thigh to the ceiling, reach back for the inner edge of that back heel. Notice your breath, modify if you need to. Soften something. Notice any attitude or thought that comes up, and just let it go and come back to the breath. And an advanced practice would be to have gratitude for those things that we find extremely difficult and challenging. We can play with that in the practice, in our yoga practice, in our asana practice. That's why we have these poses that are nearly impossible. And if you can do them, there's more, right? What is your attitude? How's your breath? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you modifying and resting if you need to? One more full breath in warrior three. If you guys can see, my hands are down. That's my choice today. And when you're ready, fold forward, standing splits, few deep breaths. Keep squeezing that front hip in and back. Keep rolling the lifted thigh, inner thigh up, and allow the head and neck to release. Notice the quality of your breath. Final breath here. And the feet come down together, hip width. Inhale, flat back, lengthen your spine. And exhale, folds. Inhale, chair pose. Exhale, stand, hands to prayer. Inhale, chair pose. Exhale, straighten the legs, fold. Last vinyasa, you guys. Inhale, pull the chest forward. Exhale, step or jump back. You can skip the vinyasa and go to dog if that's better for you. And downward facing dog. A few deep breaths. Steady the breath. Notice where your awareness is. Notice where your thoughts are. Notice what they do. Notice what they say. Just look like we watch the breath. Final breath here. And we're going to step the right foot all the way forward, and we're going to drop the back knee. And we're going to move right into a hip opener. So pigeon if it's doable for you. If it's not doable for you, you'll probably do figure four stretch. So pigeon is an outer hip stretch. You'll walk the front foot across the midline. Drop your shin somewhat parallel to the front of your mat. Try. And crawl yourself forward and down. Eventually, you're going to rest your head. It might take a handful of breaths to get there. You can stack your forearms. You can rest on the floor. If this hurts your knee, you skip it. And you might choose figure four stretch on your back instead. If there's a different hip opener that you feel is better for you today, you guys, this is your practice. Feel free to do anything you need to do to serve yourself. We're going to be here for a handful of breaths. Notice if you have emotions about that. Right, our thoughts create emotions, right? We either love this pose or we hate this pose. We're either so excited the teacher said this is where we're going, or we're so miserable the teacher said this is where we're going. And just notice that, without labeling, without judging. Notice if you're thrilled that I finally let you lie down, and ask yourself why you didn't rest earlier. In the pigeon, you guys, if your right hip is really far away from the floor, you might want to put a folded blanket or block under it for support. You have about 10 more breaths in the hip opener. So do the best you can to soften in. Right, so we've done some very vigorous heat building work today. And sometimes that's easier for some people. I think what happens when we get into the softer, more stretchy shapes is we actually come in contact with the mind a little more. Right, we're not using our mind to balance and focus and coordinate movement, and therefore the thoughts start to creep in. The mind starts to wander. Can you stay present even now that the shape is softer? Can you release the pushing? Are you still pushing and efforting? You're trying to get deeper into the shape. Can you let that go? Can you breathe deep? Feel what you're feeling and allow it to be without labeling, without judging, and without wanting to change anything. 5 breaths in the hip opener. If you're on your back, let your shoulders soften, your tail drop. Notice if there's resistance. Notice if your face is gripping, your shoulders are tensing. Can you let that go? And then let your next breath be a little more deep and full. And sigh it out. And then those of you on your back in a figure 4 stretch, you can just switch sides. Those of you in pigeon, I personally like to kind of crawl my way to a downward dog in between sides. You don't have to. You can switch sides however it works for you. But if you can step yourself back to a downward dog for a few breaths, you may choose that. Just gracefully, you guys, however you need to in the moment, making your way into your hip opener on that left side, second side. So maybe it's pigeon, maybe it's figure 4. If you're doing something else, feel free to honor that and continue. Again, if you need a prop underneath the hip, put it there. Do rest the head. So if the head doesn't reach the floor, you might stack your forearms, you might fold a blanket, you might use a block. And you guys, as soon as you find the right shape for yourself in this moment, do the best you can to give into gravity. We've done so much efforting today in our physical asana practice. Can you let go? Meaning you're not pushing, there is no agenda. You're not resisting. Do the best you can to give into gravity. And soften. Stick with the quality of the breath. Do the best you can to be with what is. Again, not pushing anything away, not holding on to anything. Right, a practice of observation, observing the breath, observing the sensations, observing the thoughts that come up about the sensations, about the shape. And constantly coming back to this moment over and over again. About 5 more breaths in your hip opener. How much can you let go of in this moment? And then let your next breath be a little more deep and full. Maybe even sigh it out. And gently, if you're not already on your back, you guys, we're going to make our way onto our back. And hugging both knees into your chest, round your spine. And just feel the support of the earth underneath you. Moving into a final twist, let your arms go wide. And let both knees drop to one side. If you have any other variation of this shape that suits you better in the moment, feel free. If your knees don't reach the floor, feel free to prop them with a block or a blanket or a pillow or a dog or a cat. And then turn your head in the opposite direction, give in to gravity. And just allow the spine to unwind. Again, not pushing, not resisting. Doing the best you can to just let go. Allow yourself to be in the shape. Allow the shape to create the space. And you simply receive. One more full breath here. And then second side.